Well, hello guys. Been a while, couple weeks. Just been absolutely overwhelmed and just running ragged, and been getting a lot of stuff done. It's the middle of haying season, so took off this morning. I had to go look at a bell wagon that we pretty certain we got it fixed at a BW28, and it wasn't shifting right, and we determined the control module was faulty. And anyways, swapped out the module, and then it shifted fine after that, and the check trans light went off. Then I went to another service call and welded up, hang on a second. Welded up a header on a John Deere swather, and I went to leave and I started my truck. And this is what it sounded like after I left there. No compression on one cylinder. So as I was driving the 20-mile trip, kind of easing it, I was just babying it back to make it home or to the shop here. I got this other engine, but this is a first gen with a rotary pump in it, which I don't care about that. The only thing that I'm a little concerned about, I can pull this adapter off for this power steering setup here, pull this off, and the compressor will mount right here where this mounts. But this advanced solenoid on this VE pump, I don't know if that compressor is going to clear that. I don't know about that. Yeah, I'm not 100% certain on that. I mean, throttle linkage to the VE pump, that's not that big of a deal to me. I can always rig up something to make that work. I'm not worried about the VE pump part of it, you know. That's all pretty simple stuff to overcome. I don't need this. This was off the Dodge for the cruise control. Don't need that. There's quite a few things on here that we don't need. Anyway, I had originally bought this thing, and what I was going to do is I was going to put it in a 68 Ford Highboy. And then I never did. I went into business for myself, and then of course I never had time to do any of that shit. So I got to get this transmission off here. That's not that big a deal. I mean, I bought a South Bend clutch and all kinds of fancy stuff for this thing. But now I have to make this work into that. And how about exhaust side of things? This cooler, now did that cooler mount to this? Yeah, it did. I don't think, does this one have that cooler mounted back here on this side? No, it does not. I don't see that on this one. Seems like to me, is this turbo bigger on this one? Is it the same size? Whole set, something or other. What is that? Can't read it. It looks like the same size turbo. Alternators, were they completely different? I'm sure they are. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to fix this one right now. I'm in such a push that, I mean, everything's got 305,000 miles on it. The engine, the alternator, I mean, everything. That P pump over there has 300,000 on it. So I just, you know, this one supposedly had like 60,000 miles on it when it was wrecked. That's what they told me. Now, whether that's true or not, I'm not 100% certain. That's another thing, is that, wait, we were looking at the alternator. That's what we were doing. But I think that alternator off this one will mount on there. I don't think that's going to be an issue. How about the belt tensioner type setup and all that? Is a serpentine belt, would it work from one to the other? I don't know. I think the best thing to do is just start getting this one out of there. But I'm gonna start taking stuff off, and I gotta let this battery charge up on this camera. I'll have to get my forklift around here to the other side, and then, you know, get the hood off and pull the shit off here and pull this engine, and I'll probably pull the engine transmission out as a unit on this. Shouldn't be that heavy on this thing. And AC compressor. This one's probably got a rotary setup type compressor, which is not even on there, is it? No, it's not even on this one. I think it's sitting over there somewhere. We might wind up, I don't know. I want to simplify this as much as I possibly can, you know. So I'll probably use my old reciprocating compressor. That way my lines and everything just hook right back up. I think everything should mount without any problems from one to the other. I don't think that's going to be an issue at all. I don't see why the tensioner wouldn't mount over. That should be the same. Water pumps are the same. What am I? Is there something missing off this thing? No, there's a crankshaft speed sensor right there. Something seems to be, what was right here? What was this? What was going to that? What the hell was that doing? That was going down. That goes down to the crankshaft speed sensor right there. I don't know why I had that unplugged, but apparently I did for some reason or another. And I don't think this one even has a crankshaft. The only reason that one had a crankshaft speed sensor in it is because of the Dodge application, which we don't really need anyway. So I guess it is what it is. Life goes on. Let's get after it and not cry about it. Poor people have poor ways, and my poor ass has got to make a living, and I got a family to feed. So we've got to get Johnny on the spot and get this sumbitch out of there. So what I was saying though, guys, I mean, all this stuff has got the same mileage on it, and this one, I had this thing started about 10 years. I've had this engine for like, let's see, I bought it a couple years before I quit Lassen Canyon Nursery. I probably had it 13, 14 years, and I've never done anything with it other than, you know, I put this transmission adapter plate and a Southman clutch in it. And I had these mounts for it that I was made, and I was going to put them in that 68 Ford, but I just never did it. Never had time to do it. So anyway, I'll quit hemming and hawing here and thinking about things, and let's get shit going here. Okay, I got it out of there. It's the next morning. It's Sunday morning. I got down here at about 6. Should have had it out yesterday afternoon, but I had a haying customer out there that had a Kenworth chassis with an ISC 8.3 that had an American Eagle bell hauler on it, and it wouldn't run, and he was panicked because the clouds came in. And so I jumped in my pickup and went out there, and it had injectors 1, 2, and 3 open or shorted, but basically there's an injector driver circuit on the ECMs, and the driver circuit on the high side controls the front 3 banks, 1, and then the second high side circuit controls the back 3 cylinders, 4, 5, and 6. Well, it had codes for 1, 2, and 3. So anyway, I diagnosed it and did a little test on it with an ohm meter and checked the pass-through connector to see if the injector harness or the injectors were shorted internally, and they weren't. And then I checked the wires from there to the ECM. Those were fine. I said, well, your driver must have went out in your ECM. So anyway, I said, he goes, well, pull the ECM out of that squeeze and put in that one. I said, okay, well, let me go get some tools. I don't have any tools. So anyways, I drove all the way back here in my pickup and grabbed a socket set and pliers and some impacts and all kinds of shit, and threw in the pickup and went all the way back out there. It's a 32-mile round trip. So, I mean, I went 64 miles, you know, basically the 2 trips I made, and Anyway, I got back out there, and the dirty son of a bitch, I just thought I would see what happened, and I turned it on, and the code's cleared, and it fired right up, and it ran as smooth as can be. So you tell me. You tell me. I don't know, bad connection somewhere that I don't know. Haven't heard from them this morning on it, but they were hauling hay with it, so I said, well, I got to get my truck going. I got to get rolling here. Anyway, so everything hinges on the air compressor. If the air compressor will not clear this solenoid, then I don't know what we're gonna do. Then we're probably, I don't know. Do we pull the front cover off that one and put on this one and put the P pump in this one? But the thing was, I did not want to do that, because if I was going to do that engine, I wanted it done right. I wanted the pump gone through, new injectors, you know, everything. I didn't want to scab shit together. This engine had low miles on it and should be good for a long time. Now that P pump setup, on my data plate cover, it says 230 horse. This one's 160 horse. I'm not worried about that either. This VE pump, I can turn this up, and there's a lot of things that I can do to get the horsepower up on this. These are really easy to get the horsepower up on them. There's a fuel pin you can put in there, and a governor spring. Right back here, you can't hardly see it. There's the bolt, right, the screw. That's your fuel screw. You can turn that in a turn or two to get more fuel. You can get a bigger turbo on there. You can get bigger injectors. You can do whatever you have to do. Right now, it's like this thing has to run and get to the service calls. I don't give a shit if it goes 40. I got to get there, you know. That's our priority right now. This is like my lifeline. I have to make a living here. So, but at the same time, I mean, I can, if I get it in there and I can get it running and make it work, then I'll, you know, order some parts and incrementally put them on as I go along and get the horsepower up on it and get it to where it ought to be. So obviously, it doesn't need to go back in there without putting the clutch in it. Obviously, the rear main seal was leaking on this thing pretty good too. So I guess the first thing to do here is let's get this setup off, this one, and let's see if we can get our air compressor off that one and see if it's going to clear this solenoid. Man, that's going to screw me. I don't know, that's going to screw me. It's going to screw me. I can just tell. Okay, so here we go. God hates coward. Just gonna see if it mounts. It's gonna clear that solenoid there. This thing keeps having oil puke out of it everywhere. Now, another thing, let's check while we got it laying here. Are these the same diameter and everything here? They sure look like they are. Yeah, they look like they are. Okay, heavy bastard. Ow! Ah! That fucking hurt. Ah. That hurt. That hurt. Ah. That did not feel good. What am I hitting here? Okay. We got a bracket here that's holding us up. That's got to go. Oh, is that bracket? Oh, there's a bracket on that, but not, this little ear's not on there. So that ain't gonna happen. There, we gotta get rid of that. Gotta go. Man, I'm having my doubts, man. It looks like it ain't gonna fit. Always save this engine. Well, I mean, this engine still has use. I mean, I can still strip it down and use the block if the block's good. And then, you know, just make it into a T-pump style and put that front cover. Well, I don't even think you got to do that, to be honest with you. Okay, let's try this again. I'm hitting that damn, you know what, though, I wonder. It ain't clearing. It's not working, guys, but I got an idea. I don't know if that my idea would work, though. It is definitely hitting there. And it's not going to mount, but I don't think my idea is going to work that I just thought of. I was thinking I might be able to clock this different, but I think there's a feed hole in this gasket. I don't think you can do that. Damn. I knew everything was going to hinge on this. Everything was. That if it wouldn't, the compressor wouldn't mount, that I was going to have to come up with something to make this work. I don't know what I'm going to do here right now. Don't really know what I'm going to do, but I'm tired of standing in the damn oil over there. It dripped out of that compressor. I'm about sick of that. What are we going to do here? You ever heard that saying that poor people have poor ways? Well, I was talking to Jim on the phone, really knowledgeable guy, and me and him discussed this pretty thoroughly, and we both came up with the same exact conclusion. So I took this fancy depth stack, or whatever the hell it's called, borescope, one of my YouTube viewers sent me, and I got so busy, I'm sorry. He's probably going to think, oh, you're what an asshole. But one of those things I forgot to do is to say thank you for this. Whoever you did, thank you very much. I mean, very much appreciated. Anyway, I took this borescope and I shined it up here on this top hole. So I rocked this over. The pilot, the gear, everything's the same, but I'm just hitting, as you can see right there, where the bell on that, they belled that casting out for this bolt to go down through there. So I tell you what we're going to do. We're about a quarter of a hole off. So what we're going to do is we're going to egg the holes out on the flange, and then we're going to grind a little bit off the cast iron body on the compressor right where that bolt is. So you know that if you grind a little bit off on that bolt casting, you're not getting into a water jacket in the compressor. So I think we're going to be just fine. Let's see, can we get this borescope on the bottom and see a little bit better? Once I get the compressor mounted on this thing, man, everything else is easy. You know, the pan's got to be swapped because this is a rear sump pan. I need the front sump pan. Okay, so we got the borescope turned on. Let's get up in here and see if I can see. Oh man, I am not far off at all. About a quarter of a hole. So, About a quarter of a hole. And I've got all kinds of meat here on this flange. So we're just gonna oblong the holes in the flange, basically kind of make it like a slotted hole. So which way do I need to egg the hole though? Where's that little bitty screwdriver? I thought I had a little bitty screwdriver. Where's my... I'm looking for my light. I don't know what I did with it. It's up here. Okay, this is working out okay. I ground just a little bit off on the casting right there, but I'm right up against it. So I don't want to grind any more off the casting. I've got plenty of meat on the flange. I'm going to go egg that a little more. I want to give myself maybe, I don't know, I'd like to at least have maybe a 1/16 of an inch clearance between that solenoid and that body on that compressor. So yeah, I'm right up against this slotted hole right here. How about this one here? Am I up against it too? This one, I see I need to slot up a little bit on this one, and this one needs to be slotted that way just a little bit more. Actually, wait a second. What am I doing here? Let me think this through here. I need to slot this way. Okay. Okay, I've got a little gap in there, which I'm going to go a little bit more. But I see another issue over here. This bracket, we got to grind a little bit off the corner on that, and then everything will be fine. So this obstacle has been overcome. Before I completely mount that, I'm going to take it outside because I want to pull this clutch. I got to get the flywheel off, get the flywheel resurfaced, clean this up. Got to get the pan off, clean the pan up. I'm going to have to get a pan gasket. See, front mount has got to go on that. How about the crankshaft damper? Crank damper is different as well. Fan, AC compressor. There's a lot of stuff to do here. Starter, man. Let's see. Yeah, that'll work. I'm just trying to think out loud here. Another thing is, if I like this style lift pump way better. So we got the flywheel housings off both blocks. Got bunches of parts swapped over. Whole exhaust manifold, everything is going to have to be changed over. That manifold's going to have to go on here because it's, as you can see, I'm not going to use this. I'm taking that turbo and I'm putting on this manifold. For one reason is this is a wastegated turbo. I'll get rid of that piece of shit anyway. And the outlets should be the same size, but you can see that that one's angled and this one sits flat and square on the bottom. So, I mean, I'm going to have that to get that to line up with that correctly. But this turbo will bolt up to that manifold. So, I got to zip this off. I got brand new manifold gaskets at home. I'll bring them down with me early in the morning and we'll switch. I'll go ahead and zip it off today. But I got the starter and bell housing, or the flywheel housing, and all these parts that need to be washed, they're out there. So that's kind of what I'm doing now. I'm pulling the fan and fan hub and all that stuff, and AC compressor and everything off this one to put on that one. I can see already there's some things here that need to be on that one. So a lot of stuff to do here. Well guys, I've been hustling all day. Been about 14 hours today, swapping stuff around. I mean, a lot of stuff that's been different. Got the air compressor all situated. The only thing, this bracket, which we don't have a light here, do we? This bracket where it ties on here, I'm gonna have to egg this hole, one hole, just a little bit to get it to line up, and then that'll be done. But I mean, there's so many little things that we've had to. This had a mechanical pressure gauge for oil, so had to, you know, take this fitting out of the block on that one and put it in here. Had to take the fittings. There's a fitting here and a fitting here that feeds a compressor for coolant. I got new hose for this. But the compressor's on there and mounted. It looks pretty good. It's pretty close to there, but I can see daylight there, so I got room there. All that's mounted. I mean, we took the only thing basically we got left is, so we're gonna have to pull this exhaust manifold off of here and swap manifolds. But I'm gonna get I got new gaskets and bolts because this thing had a broken bolt, and it's one of those things, you know, I've been meaning to do it and been meaning to do it, and this has had a broken bolt in it for a long time. You can see the black carbon where this has been leaking. So anyway, I was gonna do that and I never did. But so I gotta all I got left to do right now is exhaust manifold, and I gotta get the pan off. Of course, this pan here, you can tell that this pan's got more of a capacity. This is way bigger than that one is. You know, of course, that's a front sump pan. This is a rear sump pan. So we got the flywheel housing all cleaned up and put it back on there. Had to change this. This had to go on there. This is like some kind of water manifold, and there was a freeze plug in that we had to knock out. I'm saying we because my buddy Dave that drives a Peterbilt hay truck, he was over here helping me and bullshitting all day. But there was a freeze plug in that other one we had to knock out, put in there. So tomorrow I'm gonna come in early tomorrow morning, and I got a tractor I got called this afternoon that's on a baler that quit right in the middle of the field. I'm gonna get in my pickup and go over there and try to do whatever I can. But I'll be waiting on the clutch and getting the flywheel resurfaced, and then I'm gonna bring those gaskets back with me for the exhaust manifold and the bolts that I got there at the house. Bring those back with me, and then we should be able to build a fire sometime in it tomorrow. We got to get it back in there, of course, but that's not too bad. These are pretty easy to deal with. And oh, I got a rear main seal too at the house. I'm gonna bring that new rear main seal with me and put a new seal in it while I got it here. So anyways, we've got a lot done today. A lot done. It went pretty well. The biggest thing I knew was going to be the problem was this air compressor. And the only other thing I'm wondering about now is I'm a little bit concerned, which even if I have to grind a little bit out of it, I'm not too worried about it. But that governor before was pretty close to the frame rail. I might have to notch that frame rail just a little bit to get that governor to clear that. So we'll cross that bridge tomorrow though. And then the other thing that I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to get this, I gotta adapt the inlet to this mechanical lift pump. I gotta adapt that to this right here. So another thing I'm gonna figure out, but well, we're getting there though. So anyways, I'll put this video out and we'll let you know on we'll have to show you when I'll video tomorrow when I get it running.